Welcome to another episode of The Suck. So, hey, it's been a minute since I've hopped on and just been going through a lot as far as life, children, family, new podcast. I'm the co host of Alive Every Day with the Marine Rapper. So, I really haven't been focused on this too much. And to be honest, it's hard to stay relevant as the dog does that. It's hard to stay relevant on a topic when you no longer are on the duty, right? And I wanted to come on and just kind of explain to people the the reason why I started the podcast, right? The reason why I started the suck, especially this segment, was because on a duty like recruiting duty, we don't really have a lot of help. Like, I'm just gonna be honest, right? We don't really have a lot of help when it comes to mental health, when it comes to mental toughness, when it comes to just life in general, right? Besides, you have your staff in CYC, but like you don't, when I was on recruiting duty in the very beginning, we had this thing, I think it was called like the M flag, right? And this woman would come and she would swing by the office and she would talk to you about just life, and she was somebody who wasn't a she was somebody who wasn't a command member. So it was easy to just talk to her and she didn't force it on you. Nobody forced it on you. It was just an easy way to just sit down and talk to somebody who wasn't a command member and just to get outside of the mode of recruiting duty because it's crazy now that I've been off the duty for a year. I've been like when I reach out to people to come on the podcast, I have a lot of people who are like, "Hey man, I really won't probably be able to till tonight at like 9 or 10. And, even on Sundays, having people who are like, bro, I probably won't be home till like 7 or 8 o'clock at night. And it's just, I forgot that I lived that life for 4 years to where 7 days a week I wasn't home until like 7 or 8 o'clock at night, if not later. And you really do, you forget that life used to be like that. And that was why I started this podcast was because I never intended for it to be a place where people come on to bitch and moan and complain. And one of my last episodes, I had somebody on, and that's what they did. They bitched and moaned and complained, and they spent the whole entire time talking about, I was a great recruiter and this. Listen, bro, I don't care about that. Like, this is not the place for that. I did not create this as a place for me to hear about how phenomenal you were, right? And even myself, like I really try not to talk about how great I was or how phenomenal I was as a recruiter or as a staff in COIC because realistically it doesn't freaking matter anymore. Like, that's just dead and gone. That's a part of my life that's no longer here, and it doesn't matter, right? But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to have people come on here and talk about what they're going through and how they're getting through it. Because if you don't, then you bottle it up inside for 3, 4 years, and then you lose things. Like, you lose a lot of things, and you don't realize you're losing them as you're going through it. And nobody tells you that. Like, nobody says, "Hey, man, listen, bro, take care of yourself," because a lot of times when you start the conversations or you find out you got histed or you find out, like, "Hey, I'm going on recruiting duty," people immediately are like, "Oh," and they just start piling you on with all this negative bullshit, right? And that's not what I want here. Like, dude, does the negativity happen? Of course it does. Of course it does. Is there bad staff in CICs? Is there bad at E412s? Right? They're there. Do they exist? We got them. Cool. Great. Everywhere in the Marine Corps, there's bad leaders. Everywhere in the Marine Corps, there's bad people. Everywhere in the world, there's bad people. I don't need to highlight those people here. That is not the point. That's not the intention. The intention is for growth. The only thing I care about is growing, because when I was on recruiting duty, there was nowhere to go to vent. You have this Business Marine Corps recruiting page, and on there, everybody's bitch, moaning, complaining, bitch, moaning, complaining, F man this, F man that, J Jazz this, J Jazz this. Bro, shut the fuck up already. Like, legitimately, just shut up. And listen, I get it. I'm not on recruiting duty right now, but guess what? Everybody at any stage on recruiting duty has had the things that they've had to overcome. They've had to own things that they've had to deal with, right? And instead, now, mind you, I'm not saying that the duty is not ridiculously hard right now. It probably is. It probably is excruciating. But when you just go to somewhere to bitch about it, it doesn't change that. Like, it doesn't change that. When you have 500, 600 comments talking about, like, oh, fraud this, or like people are literally proud of, oh, I frauded this dude in the Marine Corps. I put this dude in the Marine Corps. Like, we shouldn't be proud of those things. Like, those aren't things that people should be happy about, right? And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because a lot of us, we you do a lot of crazy stuff on 3 years of recruiting duty or 4 years of recruiting duty. Like, you do some stuff that you never thought you would go ahead and do. And the worst part is that you do it because you have to make mission. You have to make mission, right? And then, and no matter what, you live in this gray area, right? And everybody and the mother says, oh no, I'll never do that. I'll never live in the gray. And that's all I'm going to do is call it the gray. That's it. I'm not going to go into topics of discussion about it. I'm not going to go into what we have done, what we haven't done. But all I'm going to say is that every single person in the world that has ever been on 80, been in 8411 and held that prestigious billet and had that rank, that and had that name tag on there, you know as well as I do that it's a long journey. And the reason why I wanted to just come on here is just because that's all I'm trying to do, is just be able to bring a place of people where, okay, let's talk about what's going on. Let's talk about the anxiety. Let's talk about the depression. Let's talk about you not being home with your family. Let's talk about, like I was talking to somebody last night. They're supposed to come on the podcast, and he was like, "Hey, listen, man, I know that I'm supposed to be on with you tonight, but I've only had like 3 to 5 minutes with my kids in the past month." And that's why I'm like, what are we doing to change that, right? What are we doing to create a place where people want to go on recruiting duty? Like, what are we doing? Like, right now, if you go on the Marine Corps page on the top right hand corner somewhere, there's a whole entire thing dedicated to Marine Corps recruiting duty, right? Because they're hurting for recruiters. And then they make these promises like, oh, you can get your duty station of choice. Okay, hey, listen, it doesn't matter if I get to choose what RS I want to go to if I'm going to work 24/7, 7 days a week. It doesn't really much matter. It actually makes it worse because my family, who hasn't seen me in years, is now going to be like, well, why can't I see you if you're home? Like, you're here. Why can't I see you? And that's a huge part of the problem. And I've heard other RSs saying that they do this now where they bring families in, excuse me. They bring families in. They do like a conference call. They let them know, like, hey, this is what we're going to expect from your family. This is what we're going to expect from your Marine for the next, however long, for the next 3 years. And, we want to just talk to you about what's going to be expected so that you're not, bombarded by this, right? Because nobody knows what recruiting duty is like until you're on recruiting duty. And the worst part about it is that when you talk to people, I remember all the time, I would tell people, like, hey, man, it's worse than a deployment. And anybody who's been deployed would be like, bro, no way. And the wives would be like, no way. And listen, I don't give a damn what you say. It is worse than any deployment. Why? Now, mind you, I'm not saying that it's worse than a deployment because you're getting shot at. No, you're clearly, that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is it's harder on your family when you're down the street from them and you can't go home. When you're down the street and your family doesn't understand why daddy's not home. Why is daddy not at the office? Why is daddy still at the office? Why is daddy not home? Why is mommy not home? Right. And that's what I'm saying. That's what no one talks about. And, and that's why I want to have this place to be able to talk about, okay, well, how can we change that? Is it able to be changed? Is it not able to be changed? Because a lot of people will sit here and be like, well, listen, we need to just go, mandate it's 8 o'clock until 16:30 and everybody goes home and then we don't work Saturday and Sundays. Okay, listen, if you think that's going to work, you're out of your bird, because the Army, the Navy, the Air Force do that, and they suck. They're trash at recruiting duty, right? So the fix isn't just, hey, we're going to change these hours, and it's not that. But is there a fix? Is there not a fix? Right. And those are the conversations that I want to have. Because when I have these RS Sergeant Majors on and they're talking about, like, oh, listen, we're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing this, that's awesome. Right. But the funny thing that I find, right. And again, I'm not going to say names because that's the hardest part about this doing this is people get so butthurt. But I'm just going to speak English, right, without saying names. It is the worst thing when you go to have somebody on and then another Marine is like, well, of course that Marine's going to come on your show, dude. They've got all the time in the world because they have an easy AO. So, of course, that Sergeant Major, of course, that Master Guns is going to come on and talk, dude, because they don't even have a hard AO. Okay, well, then why aren't you coming on? You say that you care so much about the community, that you care so much about the Marine Corps, then why won't you come on and talk about talk about it? Why not? Because in my thought process, a lot of it is that that if you come on the podcast and you talk about anything, you're gonna get off this podcast and you're gonna go back to your Marines, and your Marines are gonna call you out and they're gonna be like, bro, that is not at all who you are. That is not at all who it is. Because anything that I'm saying on here is not in any way, shape, or form negative. All I'm literally trying to do is create a place where people can come, learn, and actually move forward. Like, I don't want you to come here and just bitch about shit. Like, I had an episode about, social media and digital communication. I've had a ton of people reaching out like, hey, man, that episode really helped me out. I really appreciate that. I've had other episodes, with Massar Wu. He came on. I had so many people reach out and say, dude, that was a phenomenal episode. Thank you so much. Da da da. Because what I'm trying to do is let people know that they're not the only people who feel this way. Like right now, if somebody's sitting in their car driving back and forth from MEPS right now, and they feel like driving themselves into a tree, right? Guess what? I can guarantee you that every one of us has been there. Every one of us at some point or another has looked at the guardrail and been like, you know what? It would be pretty nice to just drive off so I could go sit at the hospital for a couple of weeks to get off this mission letter, or a lot of people just say, you know what? I can't wait to get home so I can sit in the car at home and just drink. And, and then you have people who become alcoholics, and you have people who, like I was talking about at the beginning of this, there's people who literally lose their families on this duty. They're going through divorces on this duty. They're losing children on this duty. They have family members who pass away and die. They have family members who, who go through cancer, who go through all this stuff. And listen, all of those things happen everywhere, right? It's not just inclusive to Marine Corps recruiting duty, right? But when you're on a duty where everything you do has to be centered around Marine Corps recruiting duty, you never leave it alone, right? You never leave it alone. You get home, you have two phones. You go out on vacation, you're doing something, boom, and you get so caught up in those day-to-day lives, right? And that's what I'm talking about, man, is that I want to create a place where people can come and just talk about reality, right? People can, and listen, if you don't feel comfortable coming on the podcast, you don't have to. Like, you have no reason to come on, that's fine. But if you need to call me and just vent to me and just call me and be like, bro, Benny, I'm going through this, I'm going through that. Like, that's the only thing that I'm trying to literally do here, because I've seen people, not close friends of mine, but they were still Marines. When I was on recruiting duty, we had a Marine who committed suicide, right? And, people will say, of course, we don't know why he committed suicide because we can never speak to this guy, right? But I remember when it happened, people made sure to say, hey, 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 his wife said it wasn't because of Marine Corps recruiting duty. Oh, how the hell do you know that? Like, how do you don't know that? You have no idea. That is not what? Like, you have no idea. You don't know what caused this Marine to commit suicide. But do you think that if that Marine was given a hell of a lot more time to be with his family, to be with his spouse, to be, like, I have a buddy of mine who lost his wife in a car accident. And before he lost his wife in a car accident, he was working 7 days a week for 2 straight years. And now he's like, bro, I'm probably gonna get out of the Marine Corps so I can devote my life to my daughter because I lost 2 years with my wife and now my wife is gone. And that's like the thing about it, man, is that like myself, I'm here, I'm no longer on recruiting duty, I'm back in the reserves, and I've been able to witness my kids move, living. Like when I was on recruiting duty with my son, I didn't see my son the first like year or 2 years of his life. I was every time I'd come home at 10 o'clock in the morning, he'd be sleeping. I would leave in the morning, he'd be sleeping. So I didn't see him for 6 days a week. Sundays they'd come by the office or whatever, and I would involve them that way. But like if you look at my son's life from 0 to 2, it all of our photos are of him in the Marine Corps recruiting office. And, mind you, did I have awards? Did I have, all these accolades? Yeah. But I would give all of those things to have that time with my son. And now I ask the question, okay, well, why did I have to put in all that time? Why was I working so much? Why was I working so much? Well, because a lot of times there was that one or two recruiter who didn't want to do shit. Like there was that one or two recruiter who got off the duty, they got their ribbon, but they didn't do anything. They were substandard recruiters. They didn't want to work. They didn't want to push. And, it's just so disheartening because you look at it and you're like, that's the answer, right? That's the answer right there. Like when you talk about like, standard of living and when you talk about these hours and stuff, it's like, no, the only way to have all of those things is to have is to have a solid team and an office of Marines that want to work with one another, that want to make mission, and that want to literally just live life. Because other Marines, they don't care. Like there's some people who are like, bro, I don't have a family to go home to. I don't do anything when I'm not at work. So I don't really care if I get home early. And that's the problem, is that they don't look at those Marines and say, you know what? I want to help that guy out. Same thing is that you have Marines who have families who don't care. Like, like in the Marine Corps on active duty, you guys say all the time that, hey, that first sergeant doesn't care because he's going through a divorce. Guess what, dude? There's people who are on recruiting duty who don't want to go home to their wives because they can't stand their wives and they don't want to be around their kids. So when you see those Facebook statuses about, I haven't seen my husband in 9 months, bro, your husband's been sitting at work not doing a damn thing and doesn't even care about contracting. So like it's not because of any other reason besides the fact that he's just lazy. So like if we want to fix those things, that's how we got to fix it. And I know that I'm on a rant right now and I'm probably saying like craziness, but this is just some stuff that I've just been like, we need to talk about, and nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody gives a shit. Nobody cares. Like nobody cares, dude. And it's like, why? Like, why do we have this duty where people are literally afraid of it? Like people literally can't stand recruiting duty. Like I had this conversation with somebody and I asked them the question and they went around it. And I'm like, no, that's not what I asked. But okay, good to go. The question that I'm asking is, why do people hate recruiting duty? And what are we doing to change it? What are we doing to change recruiting duty? Because right now, think about it. You have to beg people to come on the duty. You literally have to beg people. You have to give them these crazy incentives to come on this duty. Why? Because as soon as they're off the duty and they get back to the Fleet Marine Corps, when anybody brings up recruiting duty, their faces, everything just drops. Nobody walks around telling great stories about recruiting duty. And if they do, it's like one or two dudes. It's like one or two people, dudes or females, that are like, oh yeah, I had a great time. Da, da, da. Everybody else is literally like, bro, worst 3 years of my entire life. I will never go back. Or if they hissed me, I'm getting out. Da, 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 da. But yet, when you talk to drill instructors are like, hell yeah, I'll go back right now. And it's just like, why do people have the pride of being a drill instructor, but nobody has the pride, or like there's a select few that have the pride of being a recruiter? Like think about it. When you walk into a sergeant major's office, right? Or a gunnery sergeant's office or a first sergeant's office, right? Or a master sergeant or all the higher ups, right? That have these nice, cool offices, right? Have you ever walked in and seen recruiting ribbon. Like, have you ever seen a recruiting plaque up standing tall? No, never. All you see is those freaking cool little, recruit drawings of the drill instructors' hats and everybody, like the campaign cover, sorry, and everybody's so proud of being a drill instructor. But have you really ever heard anybody talk about how proud they are about being a recruiter besides me? Or besides 8412s, or even some of the 8412s aren't even proud of doing it. They're just there to do it because, hey, I was able to get this job and there's literally nothing that I can do to lose it. Like, dude, there's some people out there who just shouldn't be where they are, but that's everywhere, right? So again, that's what I want is I want people to be able to come on here and talk about, okay, hey, this is why I became an 8412 because there's a huge stigma when it comes to a Marine 8412. Everybody and their mother thinks that they are all crap bags. Everybody says, "Oh, they're the worst of the worst, fleet dodgers, they're this, they're that." But that's why I want to hear from these people. I want to be able to take 8412s onto the podcast and get their voice heard so people understand that there are actual good leaders out there who wanted to come on the duty and make a difference. But when I reach out to every single person and they all say no, well, then I can't do that. Then I'm not about if I just come on this podcast and just have podcast of literally just me, well, then that's really boring. Unless you guys like it. I don't know if you guys like me going on these rants. I'm not sure. But I cannot help you guys if y'all don't want to come on the podcast, right? So I can't create this space of a place for people to talk about what they're going through, a place, like, dude, you have people who literally have eating disorders. You have people who have alcoholism issues, people who become drug addicts. Like you have people who, start getting, prescribed medication and all this different stuff, right? And a lot of this stuff is caused from this duty. Okay. But nobody wants to talk about it. Okay. Well, it's not going to get better if nobody's talking about it. Like, if the only solution we have to fixing Marine Corps recruiting duty is throwing money at people, that's not it. Like, it's not going to make you any happier. Like, you're not, oh, hey, I got 18 grand to go on recruiting duty. A lot of people are like, bro, I wouldn't take 18 grand to go back on the duty. But then you have people that I've talked to and that I've met that are second term recruiters and are loving to go back. Like, there's some people who are like, bro, I already have my package submitted. I'm going back. And it's just like, those are the people that I want to talk to. I want to talk to these guys and understand, why are you going back? Like, why? What is the decision? Why have you decided, hey, I went out to the Fleet Marine Corps and you know what? I'm going to return to recruiting duty. Why? Like, for myself, like, I would go back because I could. I'm at the time where I've met my 1 year off the duty. So I could essentially, put in the package. I just don't know where I would go. That's a huge reason. But I also, now having been off the duty for so long, like, I could take, it would be a $20,000 pay raise, like from where I am now as a civilian to where I would be on active duty as a 13-year staff sergeant in New Jersey, especially. I would be sitting at like 85 grand, right? So it would be nice, especially with the third kid coming. But then I would be back on the duty 7 days a week and not being home with my family, because especially in the world in which we live, and especially in some states and some RSs, staff NCOICs can't just send their Marines home when they want to. Like, there was a time where, hey, staff sergeant or gunny, that's your office, that's your RSS, go home. If you feel like you're good and you're going to make mission, you're going to make your phase lines, go home. But by golly, if you don't, we're going to have a conversation. But a lot of places have lost that. A lot of places have lost that. And now we live in this world, and this is just things that I've talked to other people about. And there's some RSs out there who are like, no, you will be at the office from 08 until 22 and you can't do anything. And on Saturday, you better be at the office by 6 a.m. And it's like, dude, who are we talking to at 6 a.m. in the morning? Like, there was this guy that I know He was a staff in COIC, and there was times where he was having his Marines at 05:30 in the morning go out to Wawa or to go out to the local gas station and sit there at 05:30 in the morning. And it's like, okay, well, how many, if you look at the numbers, has it done anything for you? No. It just slept deprived people. It took people away from their families, and it did nothing for the morale, and you still missed mission. So yeah. But I really, and that's what I'm trying to get out, right? Is just, what are we doing to help the Marine on the street? And then my next question for you guys is, and I hope you guys interact with this, like send me DMs, send me messages. If you don't have anything positive to say, then just leave it alone. Like, or hey, listen, all I'm looking for is a review. How can I help you? Is this helping you? I've had a lot of Marines tell me it is. I haven't had anybody reach out and say, hey, bro, this shit sucks. Stop making it. But is it helping you? And if it is helping you, I would love for you to share your story with me, with us. Why? Because I want to help people. I want to create a place where you feel like, you know what, I had a really shitty day today, and I'm going to go and listen to Benny. I'm going to go and listen to Embrace the Suck. I'm going to go listen to it. I'm going to find out what's going on. I'm going to go listen to different, ideas, go listen to different opportunities, go listen to see how other people are doing things across the Marine Corps. And that's really what I'm trying to do here. But I think it's hysterical that, it's so hard for me to get people on that are in the community. Like, I would love to have an RI on here, but I've been told no. I have literally been shot down. Like, nope, not coming on. And I'm just like, if you're not coming on, like, I would love for you to tell me why. Like, and that's my thing. Like, if you can legitimately sit here and say, you know what, Devil Dog, you know what, Staff Sausage, you know what, Staff Sergeant, you know what, Benny, whatever you want to call me, I'm not coming on because of this, and the third. That's fine, But it's funny to me that I've had 2 RS Sergeant Majors on here, and I've been told by people, oh, the only reason why they came on the podcast is because, their RS is doing phenomenal and they want to be able to, gloat about their Marines and their training and this, and the third. And it's like, I don't know if that's true, but I've gotten a lot of people to say, hey, that was an awesome episode. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate what that Sergeant Major is doing. I appreciate what that Sergeant Major said. Da, 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 da. And now I've actually gained friendships through those people. So listen, all in all, I'm just reaching out to you guys just to let you know, like, hey, listen, this is what's going on. This is why I haven't really been on here vocally, because I've been running 2 podcasts now while still, working a full-time job and, dealing with a soon-to-be 3rd child. So life has just been, exhausting. And that's it. Listen, if you are interested in learning more, if you want to partner up with me, if you want to be a part of the podcast, if you want to come on here and just give your piece, let's go. But I'm telling you this right now, do not come on the podcast to talk shit about other people. Like, don't come on here to talk about a command member because that's how I get in trouble. Or don't come on here to talk about, like, oh, there's this one guy who frauded and like, bro, none of that. I don't need any of that, because that's not what I'm trying to do here. Okay. So what I am trying to do is just build a community of people, 8411s, new and old, and just be able to talk about what we've gone through and also get those success stories. Hey, what is it doing for you now? Hey, you're out of the Marine Corps. Cool. What did being an 8411 do for you? What did those MC3, MC4 skills do for you? Hey, you were a staff in COIC of an office. How does that help you translate into being a better leader in the Fleet Marine Corps? Hey, how does being a recruiter help you in the Fleet Marine Corps after you've gone back to your MOS? Hey, did you have anxiety going back to your MOS? Hey, have you had issues with divorce? Have you had issues with this? That's what I'm trying to do, is I'm trying to give people an understanding, like, hey, man, if you see this going on in your life, take a step back. Hey, man, if you see this going on in your life, take a step back. Here's some advice. That's all I'm trying to do, is create a place for people to come, talk, and learn and be real. Like, be real. And I think that's a lot of the reason why I don't have a lot of guests, because it's easier to find guests on Semper Sometimes for Semper Sometimes. But when I invite people to come on here, people are like, nah, bro. Nah, I'm good, bro. Nah, I'm good, bro. And it's like, why? Like, I would love to understand why you can't come on here. Again, I'm just trying to help people grow. I'm trying to help you be better. I'm trying to help you. I'm just trying to give you guys a place to listen, to learn. And that's it. So I will be live again this evening at 8 p.m. on mine, on a live every day with the Marine Rapper. So I'm co-hosting that at 8 p.m. And then at 9 p.m. I will return to do an episode of Embrace the Suck with a current recruiter slash staff in COIC out there somewhere in the world. And I'm just excited to have a guest. It's been a while. But like I said, all I'm trying to do is give you guys what I didn't have and give you guys a place to come, to learn, to listen, to just be like, wow. I also want to tell recruiting duty stories. Like, I want to have some episodes that are just like, hey, bro, what's some of the craziest shit you saw on the duty? Tell us some funny stories, get some laughs out there, because, you know, you guys need a break from this everyday grind. And that's why I think it's bullshit that all of these RSs are like, you want to make recruiting duty better? Then let's go away. Like, let's just take a block of a weekend off, because guess what they do? And this is one thing I always find effed up. They have semi-annual and annual planning conferences, and y'all get to go to Atlantic City, or you get to go to all these cool places, the Borgata and the this and the that, and you guys go axe throwing, and you go, and I mean, I was one of them, and you go do all this crazy stuff while your officers are at the office still pushing. And it's like, well, but what are you doing for your Marines? What are you doing for your, like, I had one RS Sergeant Major I was talking to, and he was just like, hey man, this week we have family nights. Sorry, RSS family nights. And I was like, oh, I wonder what that means. But like, that's what I'm saying. Like, if one RS is doing that, then why isn't all of them? Because at the end of the day, you know, should you make mission because it's your duty as a Marine? 100%. Like, you will never hear me say anything otherwise, because that's what I agree with. But at the same time, sometimes you need to let your hair down, and you need to be able to just take a walk away from it. Because if you're working 7 days a week and you're not making mission, then maybe working 7 days a week isn't the freaking answer, bro. If you're working 7 days a week and you haven't made mission all year long, well, then maybe that's the problem. And then when you make mission once, you work 7 days a week. It's like, bro, I'm here 7 days a week, whether I make it or I don't. So what are we doing? So I'm going to end that here. Definitely. Oops, sorry. Definitely hop on tonight, please. I would love it. Alive Every Day is every single day. It is now on YouTube, on the Marine Rappers YouTube. It was on Instagram, but we're transitioning to YouTube. So definitely help us with that. We're just trying to help spread mental health. Just trying to help people, give people somewhere to come every day for about 30 minutes or more. Sometimes it's a lot longer than 30 minutes, but we want to give you at minimum 30 minutes a day where we can just talk to you guys and different people. So if you're somebody who wants to be on the podcast, hit me up. On either one. If you want to be on Semper Sometimes, let me know. If you want to be on Alive Every Day, let me know. But thank you for coming on. Thank you for being here and sharing this with me. Make sure you follow me on Instagram, YouTube. Go follow the podcast at Apple Podcasts and or Spotify. There's other places as well. But thank you for tuning in, and I hope you have a phenomenal day. Benny out.